Jonathan, there are a number of world-class athletes, aren't there, who allow us a kind of glimpse into their personal lives, sometimes in glossy magazines for personal profit. Few have been as public about their faith as you have. Why were you so keen to identify yourself as a Christian?
I mean, I was a Christian first and foremost. It was what defined me.
Before being an athlete?
Before being an athlete. You know, I saw my life as an outworking of my commitment to God, whether it was doing my studies or being part of a church or being an athlete. And in part, certainly, I was an evangelical Christian, and I thought it gave me a great platform, not to try and force my faith down people's necks, but to say, well, this is what I believe, and it's something that everybody should think about and come to a decision on. Whether they choose to believe it or not is up to them. But as an evangelical Christian, I had a responsibility to share this message that I believed.
There was a very public renouncement too, wasn't there, in 2007? And there was a suggestion that it was partly because you decided that you would actually compete on a Sunday, and that somehow said something to you about your faith. Would that be fair?
Yeah, and no, I think the Sunday issue had been resolved quite a long time beforehand. When I first started, I had the Never on a Sunday thing, the whole Eric Liddell resonance. But then in 1993, I made the decision to jump on a Sunday. The hard thing about that decision was not so much the theological issues about was it right or wrong, but what would people think? Would they look at me and somehow think I'd compromised my faith just to try and be a better athlete? But in the end, I made that decision. 2007, a public renouncement. I felt when I retired in 2003, I did start to question my faith and eventually lost it. But I didn't want to suddenly stand up and say, I don't believe anymore, and yet I wanted to be true to myself. The thing came out into the open because I was a presenter of Songs of Praise,
on the BBC,
very high,
yes.
very high profile
Yes.
Christian program, high profile Christian, and I didn't feel I could do that with any integrity. So I stepped down from that, and that's the point in time when it became public knowledge. And it needed to become public knowledge, but I didn't feel it was appropriate to sort of, call a press conference and say, hey, I don't believe anymore.
But when faith drains away like that, it must be a very difficult experience.
For me personally, it hasn't been, and that shocks me. I mean, it was everything to me.
Yes.
Now it's not there at all, and I feel perfectly fine. In many ways, I feel at this stage in my life as happy as I've ever been. Now, whether that's to do with the fact that I don't have a faith anymore, I don't know, but certainly that's where I'm at in terms of belief at the moment. So no, for me, it was like, okay, I don't believe it. I'm going to get on and live my life this way now and be true to that. Harder for people around me, for my wife, for my parents, particularly my dad being a retired vicar. That's been a challenge for them, without any question. But in the end, you have to live your life.